In this video, I'll show you May 5th, 2021, Senior Deputy Keith Jackson of the Harford County Sheriff's Office was conducting a traffic stop on an unidentified 21-year-old in Harford County, Maryland, and was about to search the vehicle with another deputy after finding a small amount of marijuana in the driver's possession. Before the officers...
4105, Ocean King. Another person's walking up on us now. Can I help you? Can I help you?
What's your name?
You can back up, please.
This is a public sidewalk.
This is a traffic stop. You need to back up.
This is a public sidewalk.
You can't walk up behind us.
On the sidewalk. Hey, listen.
Back up.
Listen, you don't know me. I don't
Back
know you.
up.
You don't know me.
I'm telling you to back up.
Like you.
I'm telling you to back up.
I don't care. Who do you think?
Back up.
Millions of people watching.
Back up. I'm telling you. Yes. Back up.
You gonna tase me?
Yes. Back up.
I'm on a public sidewalk.
Back up.
I'm on a public sidewalk.
This is a traffic stop. You do not belong here.
I am far away. I have a right to film the police.
You can go over there. You're interrupting.
No, I'm not.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest.
For what? I'm on a
You're under
sidewalk,
arrest.
sir.
You're under arrest for hindering. Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
Sir.
Turn around and put your hands.
On a sidewalk.
I'm telling you right now, bud. Put your hands behind your back.
All right, listen.
Don't reach in your pockets.
Mr. Reyes continues to film the scene from the sidewalk. Deputy Jackson places Mr. Reyes under arrest for hindering in Maryland. Obstructing and hindering a law enforcement officer in the performance of his police duties is a common law misdemeanor criminal offense. This means that the offense is created by tradition and case law rather than a statute. In the 1983 case of Cover v. State, the Court of Appeals of Maryland explained that in order to be convicted of this offense, an individual must commit an act or omission which obstructs or hinders a police officer engaged in a formal duty, while knowing that the officer is engaged in an official duty and intending to obstruct or hinder the officer. In the 2011 case of Titus v. State, the same court held that for an individual to be found guilty, the government must prove how their actions actually obstructed and hindered the police officers based on the totality of the circumstances. While many states require that an individual physically hinder or obstruct an officer to be convicted of this type of offense, Maryland law does not require a physical interference with an officer's duty. Instead, it simply defines obstructing as, quote, an act or omission making it more difficult for the police to carry out their duties, as was noted in the Titus decision. Given the large variety of acts and omissions that can make it more difficult for the police to complete their duties, under Maryland's definition, there is a significant overlap between obstructive behavior and activity that is protected by the First Amendment, such as filming police officers in public. While the Supreme Court has yet to rule on whether the right to record officers is protected by the First Amendment, a growing number of circuit courts have held that the First Amendment right. Free expression protects the filming of officers performing their duties in public. Although the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, which includes Maryland within its jurisdiction, has not addressed whether the First Amendment protects the right to record police officers, several district courts in the Fourth Circuit have recognized a right to record law enforcement. Given the increasing recognition of the right to record the police and the necessary elements for a hindering conviction in Maryland, Mr. Reyes has a strong argument that he did not obstruct or hinder the officers, particularly because his clear intentions seem to be to simply record the traffic stop from a distance.
Sir, I'm not interfering with anything, sir. Sir, I'm not interfering with anything. I'm on a sidewalk.
You're under arrest, I told you.
For what?
Hindering.
Sir, I was on the sidewalk.
You can let go of this.
I was on the sidewalk.
You can let go of this. Everything's being audio-visually recorded, okay?
Sir. Okay.
This is going to go in your pocket for the time being.
Sir, I'm on the sidewalk, sir. And sir, listen to me. Listen to me.
603 dispatch. Can you open up a separate card for hindering and mark 1095
Hindering
here?
For what?
Start me as supervisor, please.
Mistake. You guys are making a big... I'm on a sidewalk. This is a public sidewalk, sir. I'm allowed to walk on the sidewalk.
He told you we're in the middle of a traffic
But
stop.
I'm walking on a sidewalk, sir. I'm walking on the public sidewalk. Can I speak to a sergeant?
Yeah, they're coming. You're going to have a seat right here on the curb.
Can I let you know something?
Go ahead.
I just... what I do for a living, I'm a constitutional activist.
Okay.
And what I do is I film the police
Okay.
from publicly accessible areas.
You can stand over there and film us from the front. You cannot walk up. Listen to me.
I was walking
Listen to me.
I was going that way. You didn't.
No. You walked up behind us, and when I told you to back up, you're telling me this is a sidewalk. No, you can't get this close.
I'm walking down that way.
When the police are conducting an investigation.
I understand that, sir.
No. You don't understand.
I do this for a living, sir. I really listen.
Okay, but I'm explaining it to you.
I just want to talk to you. Millions of people see my videos, sir. I'm telling you. You can look it up. It's called Long Island Audit. I'm from New York.
It makes no difference to me about the videos. Listen to me.
No, I'm not saying that.
Do you want me to explain to you?
Yes.
Okay. Maryland and the Harford County Sheriff's Office, which I am, a Harford County Sheriff's Office deputy, okay? We will allow you to video. I don't care if you're standing over in the parking lot where I can see you, away from the traffic stop. But as soon as we do a traffic stop or any other type of investigation, we drop a bubble on the area
that we're in. While Deputy Jackson claims that the Harford County Sheriff's Office has a departmental policy that allows officers to establish a secure, quote, UN, quote, bubble around a traffic stop, the department's written administrative policy on public recording of law enforcement activity does not include any mention of a buffer zone or bubble. Rather, the policy states that, quote, individuals have a First Amendment right to record a member in the public discharge of his law enforcement duties as long as the individual's actions do not interfere with the duties of the deputy or jeopardize the safety of the deputy or others. No member of the Harford County Sheriff's Office may prevent or prohibit any person's ability to observe, photograph, and/or make a video recording of law enforcement activity that occurs in the public domain, so long as the person's location, actions, and/or behavior do not create a legitimate, articulable threat to officer safety or the safety of others, or an unlawful hindrance to successful resolution of the law enforcement activity. The policy goes on to explicitly state that, quote, the acts of merely observing, photographing, and/or making a video recording of any police activity that occurs in a public setting are not criminal offenses. While the alleged bubble policy does not appear in the written departmental policies, in general, the government may restrict the location where free speech occurs through reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions as long as the limitations are content-neutral, are narrowly tailored to serve a significant governmental interest, and leave open, ample alternative channels for communication of the information. For example, in the 1997 case of Schenck versus Pro-Choice Network of Western New York, the U.S. Supreme Court held that imposing, quote, fixed bubble or fixed buffer zone limitations around abortion clinic entrances was constitutional, but that requiring protesters to adhere to floating bubble or floating buffer zone limitations, which prohibited demonstrating within 15 feet of any person entering or leaving the clinics, violated the First Amendment because the restrictions, quote, burden more speech than is necessary to serve the relevant governmental interests. When it comes to traffic stops, the requirements are similar. In the 2014 case of Jerica versus Begin, the First Circuit Court of Appeals held the quote, this is not to say, however, that seeing an individual's exercise of the right to film a traffic stop cannot be limited. Reasonable restrictions on the exercise of the right to film may be imposed when the circumstances justify them. In reaching this conclusion, the court noted that the Supreme Court has recognized that traffic stops can be, quote, especially fraught with danger to police officers and thus justify more invasive police action than would be permitted in other settings. Similarly, in the 2012 case of ACLU of Illinois versus Alvarez, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals concluded that, quote, it goes without saying that the police may take all reasonable steps to maintain safety and control, secure crime scenes and accident sites, and protect the integrity and confidentiality of investigations. While an officer surely cannot issue a move on order to a person because he is recording, the police may order bystanders to disperse for reasons related to public safety and order and other legitimate law enforcement needs. While Mr. Reyes did have a right to record the traffic stop, it is possible that a court could still determine that Deputy Jackson did not violate his First Amendment rights by commanding him to step back from the scene. If the judge considered the order a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction, you're not walking up behind me.
You walked from over there to right here. You're not walking up. Listen to me.
Okay, I'm listening.
You're not going to get the full answer unless you just stop.
I'm going to listen to you, sir.
You walked from that car over there, this direction, right behind my truck, to the back corner of my truck.
That's why
right here. Okay? And I told you no.
That's why I recorded.
I said back up.
I wasn't.
Okay, you don't want to listen.
You let me go on my way.
No.
And we're not going
Nope.
And we're not going
You're going to jail.
Deputy Jackson informs Mr. Reyes that he pulled his taser because Mr. Reyes kept approaching him, despite the fact that Mr. Reyes was standing still when Deputy Jackson pointed the taser. As Deputy Jackson was repeatedly screaming back up when he pointed the taser at Mr. Reyes, it seems that he was using the taser to force Mr. Reyes to comply with his commands. According to the Harford County Sheriff's Office's use of conducted electrical weapons and use of force policies, pointing a taser at an individual without deploying it is not considered a use of force, but it still must. B. Officially reported on the department's use of force form. While the policy places limitations on the circumstances when a taser may be used on a suspect, there are no such limitations placed on when an officer may point a taser at an individual without deploying it. Instead, the policy simply states that, quote, a show of force or threat of force may be all that is necessary to de-escalate a volatile situation. A non-compliant subject may become compliant once faced with the realization that a CEW may be used on him or her. The policy does place restrictions on when. Officers may quote-unquote display the arc, which involves showing a non-compliant individual the taser's electrical current by removing the cartridge and depressing the trigger, stating that officers shall not display the arc in circumstances where actual use of the taser would not be justified, such as, quote, where the subject is exhibiting merely passive or active resistance. Passive resistance is defined as when an individual is, quote, not physically cooperating with the deputy's attempt to restrain them and is not assaulting the deputy or trying to escape, and active resistance is defined as, quote, physical evasive movements or behaviors to defeat a deputy's attempt at arrest or control, including physical bracing, twisting, tensing, pushing, or verbally signaling an intention to avoid or prevent being taken into custody. Because Mr. Reyes was not engaging in passive or active resistance at the time Deputy Jackson pointed the taser at him, Deputy Jackson would not have been justified in using the taser or displaying the arc. However, since the policy does not place such limitations on when an officer may point the taser, it is likely that Deputy Jackson's employment of the taser was not a violation of department policy. That's it. I'm not messing around with him.
Because I believe in your rights. Listen to me. I believe in your...
I stand up for the Constitution. Sir, I got sergeants, lieutenants who have my back. I got county officials in my
I don't care.
And sir,
you're not going to walk up behind me like that.
I had no ill intent.
You took my whole attention away from this.
I'm sorry for doing that, but
this is our business. Who is that guy right there?
I'm apologizing.
Who is that?
I'm apologizing.
I don't care about your apology. You are under arrest.
I'm not saying that.
I appreciate that you want to talk about it now.
No, you can.
But at the time, you're very confrontational, and it's taking my attention away from this gentleman over here, whom you know nothing about. I pulled my taser because you kept stepping at me, bud.
Okay.
And my attention's over here.
Okay.
After placing Mr. Reyes under arrest, Deputy Jackson completed the traffic stop, and on May 5, 2021, Mr. Reyes was charged with obstructing and hindering in the Bel Air District Court. Later that evening, the Harford County Sheriff's Office posted Bodycam footage of the incident on its Facebook page with a message from Sheriff Gaylor that claimed a thorough administrative investigation was being conducted to review all the evidence, the results of which would be shared when completed. As of the writing of this episode, the criminal case against Mr. Reyes is still pending and scheduled for trial on July 21, 2021. As can be seen in a video posted to his YouTube channel on May 9, 2021, Mr. Reyes filed an official complaint with the Sheriff's Office, and on May 11th he filed a felony complaint against Deputy Jackson for using the color of the law to interfere with and stop a constitutionally protected activity in violation of Section 242 of Title 18 of the United States Code. Overall, Deputy Jackson gets an F for displaying a fundamental misunderstanding of departmental policy and freedom of speech, escalating the encounter by baselessly treating Mr. Reyes. as a threat and for needlessly arresting Mr. Reyes. Not only did Deputy Jackson make up an inaccurate departmental policy seemingly out of thin air, but he also completely disregarded the policies regarding filming the police that the sheriff's office has clearly established. Instead of attempting to engage in a civil dialogue, the deputy immediately began issuing orders to move back and failed to effectively communicate with Mr. Reyes in any meaningful way. Deputy Jackson's approach to this encounter was to gain control through forced compliance, and he was willing to risk violating Mr. Reyes's civil tissue liberties in the name of a non-existent threat to officer safety. Although there is a somewhat flimsy possibility that Deputy Jackson's orders could be considered lawful, the manner in which he went about issuing those orders was unprofessional and unnecessary. If Deputy Jackson had made a legitimate effort to engage in a genuine conversation with Mr. Reyes, or ignored him completely, then this interaction would have likely had a much more peaceful outcome. Whether or not Mr. Reyes is successful within the courtroom, Deputy Jackson's disregard for civilian rights, unprofessional attitude, and questionable discretionary conduct could lead to more lawsuits in the future. Mr. Reyes gets an A- because, although he failed to invoke his right to remain silent, he exercised his rights peacefully and respectfully, complied with the orders of the deputy, and followed up this interaction with the proper legal action. Given that the Supreme Court has failed to rule directly on the constitutionality of recording the police, and the Fourth Circuit has rendered mixed opinions, it is entirely possible that a court would find that Mr. Reyes was not entitled to First Amendment protection after being ordered to move back. However, it's extremely difficult to speculate on how any one court may rule in an instance such as this, because the Supreme Court has not provided a legal framework for lower courts to draw their opinion from. At no point did Mr. Reyes present a legitimate threat to Deputy Jackson, and it appears as though he was a safe distance from the stop before being confronted. As with all cases that invoke the time, place, and manner doctrine, this interaction will be examined based on the totality of circumstances, and it will likely be difficult to prove that Deputy Jackson's orders were reasonable based on the facts at hand. Ultimately, Mr. Reyes was arrested while filming a police officer in a public place, and a case like this has the potential to offer the Fourth Circuit Court an opportunity to issue a clear, "Thank you very much for watching the video. Subscribe our channel for next video."